A recent UT 10 News poll shows Democratic incumbent Scott Peters and Republican Carl DeMaio are virtually tied for the 52nd District congressional seat, and they're spending plenty on campaign ads. Mesa College political science professor Carl Luna joins us with analysis of these ads. Carl, welcome back.
Good to be here.
Now, overall, how would you characterize these ads that we're seeing this close to Election Day?
I can't wait for the Christmas ads to replace them. Okay. The ads, they come in two basic varieties. The candidate narrative usually put out by the campaigns, which has big music like something out of Rocky or West Wing, shows the good side of the candidate, and then the demonization ads about the other guy, how they're the spawn of Satan, and don't vote for them.
Let's take a look at a couple of these ads. First, we're going to look from Scott Peters and then from Carl DeMaio. Okay, so tell us about, first of all, this "Do the Right Thing" ad with DeMaio, with Peter slamming DeMaio, and then also the slippery slope. What sort of messages are these types of campaign ads sending?
Well, what Scott Peters is trying to show is that even though he's the incumbent, Mr. DeMaio has a history and that he's had his issues with special interests and the rest, that he's not a squeaky clean politician. And in response to ads that have suggested that Scott Peters has had some improprieties without validation in the ads. Meanwhile, that the little race car one and all that I was waiting for Scooby-Doo to come out with an ad like that. It's almost a Hanna-Barbera ad, but it's showing that Scott Peters is undependable. He is a classic incumbent, and you should vote him out.
Well, do these have any basis as far as, is there any backing? Have these been fact-checked?
Well, in that there are words that are found in the dictionary, there's a basis for their use. As far as they apply to the history of the candidates, in both cases you see candidates being slammed for things that happened back in city council days. In the case of Mr. Peters bankrupting San Diego, the voters already ruled on that when they elected him to the Congress. You know, going after his record in Congress might be more legitimate, but he hasn't had a chance to do much because he's in the minority, so you go after the nearest red meat you've got. In the case of Mr. DeMaio, you want to make him look as bad a politician as he's trying to make you look, otherwise he wins that argument.
So negative campaign ads are nothing new. How effective are they?
Extraordinarily effective. That's why we get so many of them. While people say they don't like them, that doesn't mean they don't pay attention to them. I mean, psychology tells us if you're in a relationship with somebody and you say one negative thing, it takes 10 positives to overcome it. Positives come and go. The negative will define the candidate. He with the least negatives has the better chance to win.
Well, both Peters and DeMaio have accused each other of lying in these ads. Is it legal for a political ad to be untruthful? And if so, what kind of impact does these accusations, oh, you're lying, no, you're lying, does it have on voter turnout?
First Amendment, freedom of speech. Nothing in the Constitution says you have to be polite or you have to be true. Libel laws don't apply here. If it sticks against the barn wall, it can actually work for you. The downside is if you tell so outrageous a lie, it makes you look outrageous, then it can backfire on you. No one's crossed that line yet in this campaign.
The ads that call Peter slippery, as we saw with that, were paid for by a super PAC called the Congressional Leadership Fund. Does relying on outside groups like this for creating or funding these, nasty types of campaign ads, does that sort of absolve the candidate or help them wash their hands if it's received badly?
Yeah, now it's the plausible deniability game. Yeah, the campaigns usually do the more positive ads about their own candidates. They leave the hatchet work to the outside groups to come and do. You could step away from it if it really gets a lot of blowback, but other than that, it's all good because somebody else is holding your candidate down in the mud and you stay looking clean even though you're benefiting from it.
Are we seeing this kind of a negativity as far as ad campaigns in this race, in mailers and or even on those phone calls that we seem to be getting?
Oh, yeah, they double down on the mailers. They'll make accusations even in excess of what you see in the 30-second ads because they have the luxury of big, broad print. Not many people read them, but in the time it takes you to go from your mailbox to the trash with them, some of that messaging absorbs, which is why you get so many of them. The hope is repeat exposure, like with kryptonite, will weaken you.
Remind us of why this 52nd District congressional seat is so contentious and why it's such a hot ticket.
Well, there's only a handful of seats out of 435 seats in the Congress that are up for grabs because of redistricting, gerrymandering, and the fact that for a generation we've moved. Republicans live in Republican neighborhoods, Democrats in Democratic Democrat neighborhoods. So the primaries usually pick who the candidate will be for the fall. So this is like the Spanish Civil War for both parties before the 2016 election. They're going to try money campaigns to see what works here, because it really doesn't matter who wins this race for the balance of power in the House, but this will show you what sort of messaging will work for the 2016 campaigns.
And what about the 52nd district, though? That's not particularly one candidate or the other. It's not particularly skewed in one way or another.
Yeah, what happens in the 52nd, because of the citizens redistricting and the way the things have changed, you've got about roughly a third Republican, Democrat, Independent. It all comes down to turnout. In 2012 or 14, it's an off year, Republicans win. In 2016, in a Democratic year, you could see the seat swap back and forth for the balance of the decade till they redistricted.
All right, political science professor Carl Luna, thanks very much for the update.
Thank you.